And good morning, everybody. My name is Madeleine Boughton, and I'm the Programme Chair for the MSc in Public Relations and Strategic Communications. So Frank is going to be my lovely assistant this morning, so he is going to move the slides along for me. So a couple of things about the MSc in Public Relations and Strategic Communications. As you can see, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary in 2025. So that's a big deal for us. We're delighted to be 10 years old, but it also means that we will have a sort of special program of events next year to mark our 10th anniversary. We're hoping to celebrate it with a couple of sort of special things we're going to do next year with some of our alumni and with some guest speakers. So I suppose the thing I would say about the MSc in Public Relations and Strategic Communications, what distinguishes it from some of the other public relations programs, is that what we are interested in is about the why of public relations. So it's trying to get to the heart of what is the purpose of what you're doing in communications. So it's not so much a how to do it, in terms of the nuts and bolts, even though we get into that, but it's trying to get under the hood a little bit around what is your motivation for doing public relations, what is it trying to achieve. It's trying to understand it more than the sort of practicalities of the day-to-day of it. So that's one of the things that I suppose distinguishes it from some of the other public relations courses. And Frank, if you're happy, I'll take a little pause in between so you'll know when to move the slide on. So just a couple of key features about the MSc. So like a lot of the programs in Dublin City University, and particularly in the School of Communications, we are very heavily connected into the industry. So the course is accredited by the Public Relations Institute of Ireland. And what that means is that it's validated by the main sort of industry organisation. But also it means that all of our students are automatically enrolled as members of the Public Relations Institute, and not just for the year that you undertake the MSc PR, and it is a year-long programme, but also your membership extends for another year beyond that, because I suppose that connection into industry is really important. We want to support our students to sort of bed down very well within the industry. It also means our students attend every year. There's a PRII National Conference. This year it was in Croke Park, and former President Mary Robinson was the guest speaker. It's attended by usually about 600-700 people from the industry, including a lot of our alumni. So students will also attend the PRII conference, again, just to get an understanding of what are the key topics in the industry and to meet with other industry sort of specialists. Another, I suppose, key feature of the MSc PR is that it's taught by people who are PR practitioners. So I myself, as the programme chair, I suppose I have maybe 30 years experience working in public relations within the arts and creative industries specifically, and I still have some projects that I would do, but also our other teachers are also sort of public relations practitioners, and I'll talk a little bit about them further into the presentation. Another key feature of the programme is that all of our students are assigned a mentor, a communications industry specialist, who you're assigned with your mentor very early, usually in the first semester. And that mentor becomes like a big brother or a big sister, if you like, within the public relations industry. It's somebody who's already either a graduate of the programme, already working in the industry, and it's somebody that you as a student get to sort of have as somebody you can bounce things off. Some of our mentors do sort of shared shadowed working days and things like that. But the mentorship program is really just somebody who can sort of be your go-to person throughout the time that you're taking the MSc PR. And then we also run a 3-month placement. So we will, during the summer months, I'll talk a little bit about that again, we will organise a placement for you within a communications sort of team, either in an agency or in an in-house organisation. So that's some of the key features that I suppose make the MSc PR stand out a little more. So a couple of other things I just wanted to talk about. The programme is a mixture of theory and practice. So they are, you'll do 4 modules in the first semester, and I'll talk a little bit about those later on. And then you'll do 3 modules in a dissertation module in the second semester. So it is a mixture of, you will get some of the theory and existing research, because we think that's very important in terms of leaning into what has already been written about in terms of public relations, whether it's to do with AI and the impact of AI in public relations, or whether it is about purpose and ethics. So we lean into some of the existing research that's there because we feel it's important to do that. But there's also some sort of practical workshop-based work as well. You'll do some group work as well. So it's a mixture of theory and practice. And I suppose all of our classes are in person. So we do, we do bring people in to DCU. We're here in the Henry Grattan in Glasnevin campus, and you're most likely to be in probably 3 evenings a week. So it does require a commitment, if you like, over the year. And I suppose we're one of the top. The School of Communications is one of the top 200 schools, for communications, which is one of the reasons why the school has such a high reputation for communications. And also the DCU alumni dominate the Irish PR industry in terms of graduates of the MSc PR and Strategic Communications. You'll find them in all sorts of areas of public relations and communications. So it's a very, I suppose, it's a course where we would lean in a lot to some of our graduates in terms of our sort of mentorship program and our placements. And we do have, I suppose, that idea of guest lectures and workshops. It does have that benefit of having a lot of connection into the industry. And then in terms of careers, the people who do the MSc PR, some of them work in public relations directly, some of them work in strategic communications or in communications management. They'll work in agencies or in-house. Some of them work in larger agencies like the likes of Edelman or Wilson Hartnell. Others are working in communications teams in local authorities. So it's a very broad sort of cohort that come out of the MSc PR. Some of them work in like community management in terms of CSR or corporate social responsibility. Some of them are working in campaign management, developing campaigns. Some of them work in the area of sponsorship or corporate affairs, or increasingly we're noticing a lot of our graduates are moving into the field of internal communications or employee engagement. So it's a very broad spectrum of career paths that the graduates of public relations and strategic communications will work in. And again, I suppose I would point particularly to the strategic communication element of this master's as well. It does position public relations within the context of strategic communications. And that's why you'll see some of our graduates moving into other areas like campaign management, reputation management, internal communications. Just when I'm about to ask Frank to move on the slide. So in terms of program structure, I mentioned that there's 4 modules in each of the 2 semesters. Your semester normally starts in September and runs through to the sort of end of November, beginning of December. So these are sort of the module topics. Managing the message is really, from a public relations practitioner, it's putting you in the shoes, if you like, of a journalist in terms of media relations. It's understanding that relationship that a lot of public relations professionals will have with the media, how to craft a story, how to think about news media, how to, think about pitching your client's story to the media. So it's a very sort of practical understanding of the role of public relations in terms of the media. Communications management, which I teach myself in the module, is, I suppose, understanding the nuts and bolts of what's involved in communications, everything from research to crisis communications to creative brainstorming. So again, it's, I suppose, the day-to-day workings of being part of a communications team and what's involved in that. And then communication or contemporary public relations issues, again, is probably taking a little bit of a helicopter lens around some of the issues and challenges facing public relations at the moment. I think I mentioned AI, which is very much part of our world at the moment, but it's also looking at other aspects of public relations, like, for example, getting to the sort of core purpose of what it is we're looking at in terms of public relations, the challenges for public relations professionals in terms of issues around climate change or communicating for effective purpose. All of that we'd look at in contemporary public relations. And then the fourth module around research methods is sort of grounding you and preparing you for your dissertation that you would do in your second semester. And then semester 2, which usually begins around January and runs to usually around April, we'll do a sort of dedicated, if you like, boot camp on your dissertation topic. And students have done dissertations on a very wide range of topics around public relations and strategic communications. You do a module specifically around that strategic and integrated public relations. And I suppose that's looking at how communications now has become multifaceted. It is everything from digital communications through to traditional media relations, through to in-house public relations. So it's how, I suppose, communications has become a much more strategic and integrated process. And then the very popular module for us is Contemporary Communication Channels, which is looking at the impact of digital and online media on public relations. And then the last one is, again, a little bit of a helicopter view around what are the ethical, legal and social issues around public relations. So it's quite a broad range of modules, some theory and some practice. Again, actually, Frank, that's it, exactly. We'll push back to that one. When we sort of wrap up our teaching term, usually around April, and then you're into your dissertation period. Every student will do a supervised dissertation. Your supervisor is normally allocated, usually around the end of January. And again, the range of topics that dissertations are done is very broad. It's everything from corporate social responsibility to internal communications to, there's been more recently, there's been dissertations on employee engagement in climate action, reputation management, crisis communications, a very broad range of dissertation topics. And your dissertation, I suppose the challenge with the MSc PR is that your dissertation, you usually start it around March, April, and it needs to be submitted by the end of June. And the reason why that dissertation time is so tight is because you then will begin your placement for 3 months, beginning usually on the 1st of July. The placement is a big part of the MSc PR. We have a relationship with quite a wide range of employers that we've worked with over the last 10 years who would regularly take our students on placement. We're usually oversubscribed. We're very lucky that we have more employers than students. It's a very lucky position to be in. And I suppose that's a testament to the quality of students that are coming out of the MSc PR, that they are very much in demand. When I say it's a paid 3-month formal placement, we sort of stipulate, or we try to ensure that students are paid a minimum wage at least for placements. We think it's very important that the work that students are doing over the 3 months is valued by the employers. And it is a sort of, it's part of your overall sort of MSc PR as well. We do check in with people as well during placements once you have been placed in either an agency or in an in-house company. We do keep in touch with students and employers over the duration of that 3-month placement period as well. So it's a great way for people, I suppose, for students to get an understanding of what it's like in the real world situation, to work in a placement. And again, I suppose we would find that our employers take our placements very seriously. They're usually very busy and intense periods of time, but the students always find it really rewarding and really gratifying. So the placement is a big, I suppose, part of, I suppose, the learning and the enjoyment process as well of the MSc PR, particularly for people who are trying to find their way in to the industry, who are trying to find their way into the sector. You can see from both the placements, from the mentorship, from the teachers, that connection with industry is really strong. And it's very important for us because it means that the program is very relevant and contemporary, because it's being taught by people who are still working in the industry. So thanks, Frank. I'll move on to the next one. I mentioned about the mentorship program. This is a really important part for all of our students. So every student is matched with a mentor. We do quite a bit of work in terms of finding out what your interest is, what your background is, where you might want to work in terms of public relations, and then we try and pair you with somebody who we feel would be a good fit. So say, for example, if you're interested in sports or sports public relations, then we'll try and pair you with either an agency who is working in that field or with an organisation who has a sort of sports agenda. So we take a lot of care in terms of matching a student with a mentor. And as I said, it's like a big brother or a big sister who's there to sort of be your sounding board. But a lot of our mentors take their role very seriously. They would bring students in to shadow them in the workplace. A lot of them will help them with their dissertations. They will either arrange potentially interviews for people, they'll use their own networks. And a lot of the relationships with mentors extend beyond the life of the programme. We would still have students and mentors who still very much keep in touch. So it's a really important part of the programme. We insist that all of our mentors are communications professionals. They have to be people who are working at a senior level within the industry. Again, we feel that's very important. And I suppose there's just some examples there of where our mentors come from to give you an idea of, I suppose, the range of organisations and companies. Be it from the central bank, we have mentors from within DCU's own communications team, from Diageo, from GAA, from Glanbia, from Google, the Royal National Lifeboat Association. We've mentors working within local authorities. And then as well, a lot of mentors who are working in agencies, some sort of bigger agencies or agencies with particular focus like 150 Bond, who are particularly interested in tech. Drury, Edelman, some of these names might be familiar to you, or indeed some of the smaller agencies like LSP or Think House. So again, it's a very broad range of I suppose, communications professionals. And we, as I say, we work very hard to try and pair our students with people that we think would be good mentors. Again, just a few words about the intra placement. I think I mentioned it earlier. It's a 3 months placement, usually begins at the start of July, running until the end of September. And again, it's in agency or in-house. And again, I have some examples there of the agencies or the organisations who will take placements for us. The way the placements work, the employers put together a job spec that they put forward as to what the role will be, and then students apply on the basis of the job specification. Employers then interview the students, and then they make an offer basically to the students. So ultimately the employers choose which student they want to take with them on placement. We don't get involved in that process. I suppose our role is a bit of matchmaking in terms of making sure there are enough employers to, I suppose, offer placements for students. So it's purely the responsibility, or it's the choice of the employers to match up with the students. As I said, we do check in with both employers and students during the placement process just to make sure that everything is going okay, or to check maybe in some cases a student might feel they're not getting experience in a particular area that they would really like, in which case we can either chat to the employers and see if we can arrange for that to happen. But it's really just to keep a little eye on students over the duration of the placement. And then just very briefly, I'll just talk a little bit in more detail about the modules. So managing the message, that one that I mentioned, which is very much about putting you in the role of a journalist almost. It's trying to make students who will be pitching to media or who will be trying to place stories to understand, I suppose, what it's like working from a media perspective, how to best deliver your message or how to best pitch your story, how to, I suppose, in the best interests of your client or whatever, to try and understand what makes news. And our lecturer is Alice O'Sullivan, who has many, many years working in as a producer in RTE, but a really, really experienced journalist. So it's a great opportunity for people working in public relations to understand what it's like from the other side. So again, we find this module is really vital for students who wouldn't necessarily have experience in terms of pitching stories or understanding how to, I suppose, get the most out of your relationship with the media. The second module, this is obviously myself in a former life from looking at that photograph. So I teach, as I mentioned, the communications management. So again, it's getting under the hood a little bit of the day-to-day operations of a communication team. So it's everything from understanding, key messages and challenges. It's about internal communications. You'll get to do a little bit of strategic thinking around putting together a communications plan. You'll understand where you sit within a communications team. There'll be a little bit of managing digital communications in terms of the day-to-day function of that. We look at the role of internal communications as part, just becoming more and more part of a communications team. And then we'll also look at strategies around crisis communications. So again, it's a little bit of the theory of sort of communications management, and then a little bit of the practical application of it in terms of drafting research plans, doing a bit of creative brainstorming around campaigns and digital campaigns. So it's a little bit of both. But again, it's trying to get students to think about what it's like in the day-to-day world of working as part of a communications team. And then again, our third module is Contemporary Public Relations. I think I mentioned this. This is taught by Pádraig McKeown, who is a really experienced and highly regarded sort of communications professional, freelance communications professional, has worked with a number of different agencies and not-for-profits as well, really experienced guy. Former president of the Public Relations Institute of Ireland. And again, Pádraig is leading, I suppose, on what are the contemporary issues around public relations at the moment, whether it is to do with crisis communications or lobbying or, I suppose, corporate social responsibility in terms of how public relations engages with the world, and also things like, how do you measure public relations successes? How do we, I suppose, value and demonstrate value in terms of public relations? And then in semester 2, we'll be looking at this contemporary communications. This is the one where we really focus in terms of digital campaigns. And I suppose the world of social media has transformed public relations. So it's a much more detailed, more granular look at the role of social media in terms of digital content strategies, developing a social media plan, evaluating digital media campaigns, understanding digital metrics. And this is taught by Craig Dwyer, who is a very tired man today, actually, because he's the head of digital for Fianna Fáil. So he's had a very intense couple of weeks, but he, again, a brilliant lecturer who is right at the coalface of working in digital and communications within public relations. So again, we're very lucky to have Craig, which again, you're getting that lovely benefit of somebody who is working right at the heart of, I suppose, digital communications and how it relates to public relations and communications. And then the last one I suppose I'll talk about in semester 2 is this ethical, legal and social issues in public relations. Again, taught by a very experienced communications professional. Neil Ward has worked in sort of, I suppose, what would you call it, ethical public relations for a long time, very established career industry professional, has worked a lot with trade unions, with An Garda Síochána. So again, a very interesting and different perspective on public relations around ethics, issues for public relations practitioners, what they need to think about in terms of the challenging, I suppose, aspect of ethics. He also looks at the whole area of public affairs and lobbying and public relations and the law. So again, it's a little bit of a helicopter view of public relations in the world, some of the issues and challenges that we face, particularly in terms of misinformation and disinformation as well. So again, a very experienced industry professional who is bringing their expertise and knowledge right into the centre of the world of the student experience. And actually, this was the last one, the strategically integrated communications, again, taught by Pádraig McKeown. And the purpose of this, I suppose, is to look at how the whole communications, public relations, digital communications, strategic communications, all comes together in terms of your strategic planning. So this whole area of trying to make, I suppose, communications coherent and cohesive across a communications planning team. But he also goes into the detail of things like media planning in terms of campaign planning, and particularly around that strategic role of communications. That's really where you're looking at the why of what you're doing. Again, it's trying to sort of pull that lens up a little bit out of the granular day-to-day into what is the purpose of what you're doing, how do you know that what you're doing is going to achieve your objective, and then that whole area of evaluation and measurement, which has become more and more important in terms of public relations practice. And then I'm going to wrap up. This is nearly the last slide we're on. We do, I suppose, to help prepare our students, we do a sort of careers boot camp as well, usually towards the end of semester 2. And this is where we sort of work with students in terms of their CVs, we do interview preparation for them. And again, we draw on our MSCPR alumni who come in and do sort of mock interviews with students to prepare them for the workplace. So it's a sort of one-day special sort of careers preparation exercise really for students who are trying to sort of begin their sort of first steps into the industry. So again, a great sort of practical resource for students to just get them ready to move into industry and to get them thinking about how best to present themselves and to communicate at industry and interview at industry level. So again, it's a great sort of practical exercise for students. And again, because we use some of our MSCPR graduates to be on our interview panels, it's another really nice way to sort of network and meet people within the industry, and for them also to sort of get to know our students a little bit better. So I think I'm nearly on my last slide. This is the small print. So in terms of our students, it's the minimum requirement is a H2-2, but most of our students are either H1s or H2-1s. I suppose the important thing is that we only have 24 places on the MSCPR, so it usually is very oversubscribed. We had over 120 applications last year. And again, for those 24 places, one of the key things for us, I suppose, is to have a diversity of students in the class. So we're looking to have a range of experience. We have some mature students who are coming back, having worked in industry for a while, who want to come back and take a bit of time out. We have students who are coming straight from their primary degrees, usually students who have done communications or multimedia or marketing, who decide they want to specialise in public relations and strategic communications. Or we also would have a cohort of international students as well who are coming to, I suppose, sort of upskill or to really sort of benefit, I suppose, from DC School of Communications reputation and credibility in the field of communication. So I suppose, it's just to say, I suppose the course, because it is 10 years old and it does have a very good reputation within the school, that the places are limited because we want to take that care with our class. And then finally, it's just my own name there. If anybody is interested to find out a little bit more about the programme, I'd be very happy to talk to anybody or to take any questions about it. My email is there, madeline.bagnan@dcu.ie. And thank you very much, Frank, for all your help. That is me all done.